Welcome to this event with Globethics and the Knowledge Equity Network. My name is Antonio Martinez Arboleda. I work at the University of Leeds in the UK. I am professor in open and digital education and also a senior lead of the Knowledge Equity Network. And we are here today because we need to generate a meaningful dialogue on how ethics can transform higher education and promote knowledge equity. So nothing better for that purpose than partnering in this event and hopefully in many other initiatives to come with Globethics. Globethics is a true global leader in ethics in education and leadership. And we will talk briefly about Globethics in a second. Before that, let me introduce you the Knowledge Equity Network and our declaration. The Knowledge Equity Network is a global community of higher education institutions, organizations, and individuals. And at the heart of our efforts are the principles of collaboration, sustainability, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And we are committed to transforming how knowledge is created, shared, and accessed. So we want to help institutions, funders, communities of professionals to create partnerships that break down barriers. One of our several goals, is to ensure that historically marginalized voices, particularly from the global south, become central in the process of knowledge creation locally and globally. Our mission, the mission of the Knowledge Equity Network, is encapsulated in the Declaration on Knowledge Equity that was launched in April 2023. I would like to invite everybody to read the declaration in detail and sign it if you like it. It's open for individual and institutional signatories. The main focus of the declaration is to foster more equitable knowledge ecosystems through openness and collaboration. So currently we have 23 higher education institutions participating in the network, 42 open education and research organizations, around 330 individuals from 62 different countries. And we all have a very strong commitment to openness in education, openness in science and research, etc. So with this shared commitment to openness, we aim to ensure that knowledge is a collective resource, fostering innovation, justice, and a more inclusive future. And obviously, democratization of knowledge is not an easy task. And that's why it requires effective and equitable partnerships, which is what we're trying to promote with our events that you can find in our web pages. Welcome to everybody. And thank you so much to my colleague and friend Alison Pieroc from Globethics. I'm delighted to introduce Alison. She's going to be the co-host and moderator in this event. Alison is the Research and Community Engagement Coordinator at Globethics. We met last year or this year. It was I think it was around
I think it's in
March.
March. It's been a long
May,
time since then.
yeah. So we met in the Leadership Summit in Geneva, and we found so much synergy, positive emotions, great philosophical alignment. It was a fantastic time that we had in Geneva with so many other interesting professionals. Yeah, and Alison has a background in international relations from the Geneva Graduate Institute, and brings all that deep and nuanced knowledge and her global perspective to the work of Globethics. So Alison leads research projects, fosters community dialogue that addresses global challenges, and her work also focuses on ethical leadership, bridging research with real-world applications and promoting collaboration across different sectors. So today, once we have our guest speakers' presentations. Alison and I will moderate the debate, taking it into turns, asking questions to our guest speakers. So welcome, Alison. Welcome. Tell us something about Globethics. It's a
Thank
real
you.
pleasure to see you.
Thank you so much, Antonio, and hello everyone online. We're so happy to have you join us for this webinar. Once again, my name is Alison and I work at Globethics. We are an NGO based in Geneva in Switzerland, in very cloudy, gloomy Geneva, by the way, right now. And our vision is we focus on ethical leadership for a just, inclusive, and sustainable world. And one of our key focuses is ethics in higher education. So as you will see later on, we very much focus on how can we integrate this into the open universities, higher education in general, and also ensuring, very similar to the Knowledge Equity Network, how can this be a global and inclusive goal in mind? Because it is not just a regional issue, it's a worldwide issue, as you will see later today. And we are very excited that we have many partnerships. For example, you will hear from Juni from Universidad de los Andes, who is one of our research institutes in partnership with Globethics, who does research in ethics in higher education. So with that, I will pass back to Antonio and have him introduce our lovely panelists, and let's get into it.
Thank you, Alison. It's a pleasure to see you again, and congratulations for all the great work that Globethics carries out. I think you are an example to so many people. Thank you. So our first speaker of today is Dr. Titilola Olojede. Dr. Titilola Olojede is the acting head of the Department of Philosophy at the National Open University of Nigeria. She's a renowned scholar in AI ethics, climate justice, African gender philosophy. The list could go on because Titilola is a person of many talents and a person who loves and practices true knowledge in its many manifestations. Titilola was named in 2024 one of the 100 billion women in artificial intelligence ethics. Titilola has led a major project on the impact of generative artificial intelligence in higher education in the Global South. She collaborates with UNESCO on artificial intelligence training. And very importantly, Titilola chairs the Ethics and Social Impact Group for Nigeria's National Artificial Intelligence Strategy. Titilola's work connects crucially with critical theory of technology. As I have been reading recently her work, I'm becoming more and more familiar with what she does. And obviously that work brings ethics to the center of artificial intelligence development for equity and for sustainability. So today, Dr. Olojede will discuss embedding ethics into specific initiatives within her university and in Africa. And that will help us to reflect about the challenges faced and also learn from her invaluable experience. Welcome, Titilola. Our second guest is Dr. Juni Montoya Vargas. Juni, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Juni is a professor at Universidad de los Andes in Colombia. Juni Montoya holds a PhD in education from the University of Illinois and is also a lawyer specializing in commercial law. So her interdisciplinary expertise has driven groundbreaking initiatives in education and ethics. She has led the creation of Colombia's first PhD in education and has launched the Latin American Journal of Education, Voices and Silences, really interesting. She also founded and directed the Center for Applied Ethics at UniAndes and served on Colombia's National Bioethics Council. And currently she leads DIDACTA, the Office of Innovation and Academic Curricula and Technological Development for Learning at the Universidad de los Andes, where she promotes innovative approaches in education. So Dr. Montoya Juni will explore today how embedding ethics across university curricula creates a culture of responsibility and even, why not, critical ethical thinking. Her work highlights the vital role that universities play in delivering an education that can help our students during and after graduation to drive equity and social impact. And last but not least, it's a privilege to introduce Dr. Lily Chan, who we have met also face to face in a couple of occasions. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Lily. Lily is the Chief Executive and Vice Chancellor of Wawasan Open University in Malaysia. Dr. Chan is a visionary leader in open distance learning who is committed to making higher education accessible to all. Under Lily's leadership, Wawasan Open University has embraced exemplary advanced technology to deliver flexible, personalized learning that empower students in our digital world and in the economy and beyond. Dr. Chan established the School of Digital Technology at Wawasan Open University. The school offers industry-focused degree programs in digital business and software engineering. This is important because Dr. Chan has a background in business as well. She has experience at leadership level in partnering with leading companies so that students can gain experiences outside the academic world alongside their studies. The Wasavan Open University initiatives are truly transforming education. Today, Dr. Chan will share how Wawasan Open University's innovative approach bring knowledge equity to students who would not have access to education otherwise. I mean, there is nothing more ethical than that. So thank you so much for being here, Lily, as well. And I give the floor to Dr. Titilola Olojede. Hello, Titilola.
Hi, good afternoon from here. I thank very much Knowledge Equity Network and Globethics for putting together this webinar. I think it's quite timely and it's going to have ripple effect, I'm sure. Permit me to start by saying that at the core of our mission, of our vision at the National Open University is an education that is anchored on social justice, equality, equity, and national cohesion. And this accounts for the number of students that we have. We have about 160,000 students spread across the length and breadth of Nigeria in about 120 study centers. Thus, National Open University of Nigeria is bringing education to those who would otherwise not have the opportunity. Beyond that, we also try to foster equity, equality, diversity, and inclusion through three major areas: the education of inmates, that's those in correctional facilities, giving support and access to people living with disabilities, and also through vocational training development programs. Education of inmates program started in 2006, and since then up to 2024, the last convocation, we have graduated about 100 prison inmates, and we currently have 5 studying for doctorates, and we have 7 already graduated with a master's degree. And this education is fully sponsored. It's free of charge to all inmates, and it is such that if in the course of your education you finished serving your term, you still enjoy the privilege of being educated free of charge. In terms of vocational training development, we have various vocational trainings spread across the country as well: bead making, in measuring, in hairdressing, in fashion designing, thus empowering those who do not have the capability to have university education to also have something they could they could use to gain some livelihoods. And recently, in September precisely, the university also partnered with another institution, Mary Stella's Teaches, to bring even more, to consolidate the vocational training programs that it started. Now, in terms of value-driven research and education, first, we utilize ethical research methodologies and conduct such that we implement policies on research ethics and in recent times in AI ethics, so that the kind of research we're conducting, they're highly ethical without undermining ethics in any way. Also, we also try to address global challenges through interdisciplinary research. And in this area, especially with the topical artificial intelligence, we've had several trainings and partnership with international organizations and funders. For example, this year with Notre Dame IBM Tech Ethics Lab, we organized an 8-week workshop for higher education lecturers in Nigeria, where we trained them on how they could integrate ethics into teaching and research sustainably. Also, we recently concluded a 4-week training that we partner with UNESCO, where we trained still higher education lecturers across Africa this time around on the guidance on implementing artificial intelligence ethics in higher education that was released by UNESCO in 2023. Come next year, February, there is already plans in the works where we'll train our students on AI fundamentals in a successive 4-week workshop across all faculties for all of our students on how to use AI ethically. And it's also a means of unveiling our AI politics, AI policy that is currently being rounded up. The development of it is currently being rounded up. In terms of people living with disabilities, we have a directorate called Directorate of Learner Support Services. And under that directorate, we have learner support for special needs units. This unit is saddled with the task of supporting people living with disabilities that are our students. So it's a measure of trying to encourage them to provide facilities that could help their studies much better, much comfortable, without discrimination, especially. So the assistance these units renders is divided into 3 stages. First, pre-admission stage. When you've indicated interest, you would have personal assistance that would help you to go through the admission process. Then the unit also helps to identify students that are with special needs and to also bring them closer, such that they could be helped without them feeling any form of inferiority or feeling left out. The unit is also saddled with the responsibility of collating these students with special needs, such that when there is exam or when we have functions like matriculation and convocation, they are helped specially. And very recently, the university just introduced the use of personal assistants that would also help to support these students during exam. I also know that the university used to provide braille services for the physically to the blind or visually impaired people as well. So learner support for special needs units, they provide assistive technology that would aid learning for students who are visually impaired, hard in hearing, or physically disabled. And we also have personal assistant and also assistive technology that could help them to do things that they would otherwise not be able to do. And so all of this, if I should go back to the prison one, we think that the prison initiative is especially fundamental in helping to reduce recidivism and also helping to empower them, and also to compensate for errors that sometimes happen in judicial system. And so I think I'm going to take a pause here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Titi Lola. Very interesting, transformative work that you are doing there. Very necessary in all sorts of education, not only in online and distance education, but in online and distance education, obviously, eh, having that extra support becomes fundamental. Thank you so much. Now we give the floor to Dr. Montoya, to Juni. Hello, Juni.
Hello, Antonio. Hello, everybody. Good morning and good afternoon in other places. I hope you are able to see my presentation now.
Yes, we can see it, perhaps. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, I'm glad I'm here to share with you the experience working with the Center for Applied Ethics as an initiative of the University of Los Andes. Just to give you some ubication about the universities in Bogota, in Colombia, in South America, and a brief overview about the university. It's a private university, it's non-confessional, committed to offer a pluralist, ethical, and critical education. You can see numbers to have idea of the size of the university, and it's not a big university, but it is well known, and it has a recognition in our country and in Latin America. We say that we don't believe in rankings unless you have a good position in the rankings. So this is why I'm showing that in this case. And in the context of this university, we started the Center for Applied Ethics a few years ago. In 2014, the president of the university asked if we were doing enough to develop the mission of the university, and the answer was we can do more, we can do better, and this is how the center started as an interdisciplinary unit dedicated to fostering ethical reflection and cultivating values throughout the university. Our motto is ethics ought to be the language of the university. Since the beginning, we started working at the center with the idea of having ethics across the university, not just ethics within the curriculum. And this is what I want to share with you. We have a declaration of values at the university, and this is part of the mission of the Center for Applied Ethics to instill these values. The values are excellence, defined as commitment to developing one's fullest capacities and potential to contribute to society. Integrity, acting with righteousness in accordance with principles related to human dignity. Freedom, using one's own intelligence to decide what ought to be done. And solidarity, a voluntary commitment to causes that address the needs of others. With these guiding values, we define ethics across the university around these missional action lines: curriculum and instruction, research and academic work, institutional culture, and social responsibility. Each of these missional actions means that we have actions for the center devoted to each of these lines. Regarding curriculum and instruction, the center promotes the integration of ethical reflection in all disciplines and areas of study with the aim of forming ethical and responsible citizens. Regarding research, we promote applied ethics research in different areas of knowledge and foster dialogue and critical reflection about ethics in the academic work. Regarding institutional culture, the center seeks to foster a culture of ethics in the university through the promotion of ethical values and behaviors, and by creating spaces for ethical discussion and reflection. And regarding social responsibility, the center seeks to involve the university community in mission-oriented actions that contribute to sustainable development and social welfare. What we do in a specific way regarding the curriculum is that we develop the idea of courses epsilon. The idea of these courses is that these are not courses about ethics. These are disciplinary courses that include a significant component of ethical education. Any course in the university from any discipline, from any profession, could include at least one ethical learning outcome and some activities for learning those outcomes and some assessment to see that the outcomes are being assessed. So the center supports both the ethics content and the pedagogical way to address these aspects in the courses. These are the learning objectives that have been declared for the center. We expect that all our students learn to identify ethical issues in specific situations and to analyze them from an ethical perspective, that they learn some argumentation and ethical judgment, to understand major ethical traditions, academic discussions and perspectives and their consequences for actions, to inform own actions with social considerations and the idea of respect for others, to evaluate and criticize reasons for their own actions from an ethical perspective, to formulate judgments about the social context where actions take place, and to identify attitudes, interests, and values underlying individual and social behaviors. Each course, as I told you, may include one or more of these ethical learning objectives. And also we define it, so the dimensions where these apply. These dimensions are personal, academic, professional, or citizenship. So regarding with the position of the course in the curriculum, the course could be addressing these outcomes from a personal perspective, or from an academic perspective, or from a professional perspective, or from the perspective of citizenship. The activities that we promote from the center are active learning activities and student-centered activities. So most of the work that we promote and we help professors to develop is based in workshops, debates, case analysis, class discussion, so that students engage in an active way with these issues. Regarding research, we have developed a master on bioethics and research ethics that is funded by the NIH from the US. We also developed a course on research ethics, and we support some projects with the Vice Rectory of Research to support research that are values driven. We also have some publications. The third one, La Ética está en todas partes, is the recopilation of what we have done in the first 10 years of the center. And the yellow one here is a publication with Globethics. Regarding institutional culture, we have been part of creating a committee on academic integrity so that we can foster in students awareness and interest in cultivating integrity instead of just being punishing fraud or other activities against integrity. And we also have developed workshops to work with the staff members to promote the same things that we promote in students, we do with our administrative staff at the libraries, at the vice rectorates, at the human resources office. And regarding social responsibility, something that we like to do a lot is like what you do in this network. We work in networks a lot. We work in networks that we have helped to fund and to support along these years. The National Network for Ethics and Citizenship Education, that is called Red Etica, and the Latin American Network of Applied Ethics, that, and we also work with Globethics and work with the Colombian National Army in the ethical leadership programs that they have. Very briefly, we think that ethics, transversal ethics, and making ethics a subject across the university, offers a comprehensive and collaborative framework to address ethical challenges within universities. Its application spans institutional, academic, research, and individual levels. At the institutional level, it ensures alignment between policies, practices, and ethical principles, considering the rights of students and staff, as well as the institution's social and environmental responsibilities. Academically, it promotes interdisciplinary collaboration to address complex ethical issues. At the individual level, it fosters critical ethical awareness through reflection, dialogue, and teaching, contributing to the creation of an ethically responsible university community. This is our team, our current team. Manuela is the chief of the Center for Applied Ethics, and thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Juni. Very interesting. We look forward to the conversation later with Alison and with me. I have questions to ask you. Fantastic. And now we open the floor for Dr. Chan. Lily, welcome.
Hi. Thank you very much. The university's name is Wawasan Open University, WOU as we acroname it. Wawasan is actually a Malay word that means vision. So visionary open university, would put it that way. We are actually a not-for-profit private university, which is a bit unusual for open distance learning. And the university was put together in 2007 and 2008. We had the first group of students that we took in. Now, as a small private university, one wonders, why did this university start? The university was quite lucky. There is a story of the founder of the land that we are sitting in. It was endowed to the university. His name is Mr. Yap. We call him as Mr. Yap. He came to Malaysia in the early 1900s, and he was a barber. At that time, there was a huge migration of Chinese from the southern part of China into Southeast Asia. So they settled in the Borneo Island, the island of Borneo in Sabah, Sarawak, they're called today, Indonesia, a lot in Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore. So Mr. Yap came and totally not educated. And all he did was he learned how to cut hair. And so he worked at the port. And I wanted to tell this story to show, what is equity and what is education to this man. He became, just to cut a long story short, he became the first founder of a Chinese bank in Malaysia. And from then on, nothing stopped him. And until the day he passed away, he couldn't read or write. He passed away in 1952. He could not read or write. Now, at that time, Peninsular Malaya was, colonized by the British. And the will that he put together was an interesting will. And this, I think, obviously in today's environment, it wouldn't work, but this is what it is like. That in the fourth generation, if the eldest son of that fourth generation, of the third generation, does not have any sons in the fourth generation, the family trust will have to put aside an endowment for either education or health services. So the family chose education, and that's how this university was formed. And obviously, besides what was endowed to the university, land and building, the university had to go out and raise monies to get the university started. So obviously the university from day one would have, would have education accessible to everyone, because that's where Mr. Yap came from. From a barber, he learned talking to business people, to traders, to everyone, probably became a very small micro lender And then from there, he built a bank. And it's also amazing that he doesn't know how to read and write, but yet he can sign documents, form a bank. A very, very interesting story. And the university, when I came 5 years ago, I felt the story was absolutely inspiring. And therefore, and I came also because I decided that, or I thought about education. Education should be accessible to everyone, irregardless of their background, irregardless of their financial situation. We talk about the top universities, because I came from Singapore, we talk about top universities, we talk about great universities, but not everyone will have the opportunity to attend institutions like such. Not because they can't do it, but because of their family background, they were never given a chance to get into even secondary education or do very well in secondary education. So in a way, Malaysia is also very flexible and open-minded. As an open distance learning university, they allowed accreditation where you can admit students without a lot of formal education. And this really changes the scene. 50% of our students come in through that route, meaning you have working experience. You could be a admin assistant, and you could have 10 years of working experience as an admin assistant. You have learned something in your work. And there is an algorithm we use, which is approved by the ministry and working hand in hand with the ministry, where we can then ascertain that this particular young person or mature person has enough knowledge accumulated through work to be able to enter a university. And I thought that was absolutely exciting to democratize education and allow anyone who has an interest, irregardless of where they come from, whether they could get, top distinctions or no distinctions, to be able to get a proper education. So that's what our university is all about. And over the years, we have been offering as many as 34 degree courses, and it ranges from business and education, social sciences, psychology, from undergraduate degrees to now PhDs. What is most interesting is actually technology in engineering. Why is that interesting, one may ask? If you're not good enough in your secondary school to be able to get X number of distinctions, it's very hard for you to get into engineering. And it doesn't mean you're not good enough. You just don't like to study, and therefore you don't make good grades. Our university is the first university in Malaysia to provide technology and engineering degree programs to young people. What is the impact for that? There are many, many technicians in the industry in Malaysia, especially now with the China +1 strategy. Malaysia has absolutely benefited from a lot of foreign direct investments into Malaysia, putting up factories. Intel has a $5 billion plant in Penang. Penang is more or less like the Silicon Valley of the East, not on that high level of technology, but on the lower end of the technology. Many of these technicians, their work is hands-on, and they can't get out unless they get a degree. And open distance learning universities is really the only solution to upgrade such young people into the next level in their career progression. And I'm quite proud that we've done a lot of innovations in how we can do technology and engineering, how we can work with the Ministry of Education to say that these students already have a lot of practical experience. Do they need that number of lab hours that, all university students have to do if they're doing engineering or technology courses? So we've been quite successful in being able to push through a number of concepts. And as a result, a lot of technicians who have not gone very far in their educational career are now able to get degrees in engineering. The second thing that I think is quite important for us is to make sure the industry and us work closely together. And since a lot of our young working adults come from the industry, so what is current, what is not current, what is needed, but it has to obviously align with the standards of what a country's Ministry of Education has put up, has set for many, many universities. So we do follow that, but we've been innovative in trying to incorporate a lot of current trends into our courses. The third thing that I wanted to bring out is we think of education as going in and finishing it up in 3 years or 4 years. Does it need to be? If you're a working adult and if you're a technician, I walked into factories and I see what our students are doing. The technicians, they stand there, 3-hour shifts, and then they get half an hour off for a coffee break, and then they come back again. And all they do is packing, all kinds of things, because we are a semiconductor industry environment. And there's no time for them to study. For them to come in and say, I'm going to commit the next 5 years to studying, that's a lot for them to do. So what we've done, let me quickly summarize. What we have done is actually broken up the course content, the degree content, into chunk sizes, and we allow them to stack it up. And again, Malaysia is quite forward-looking, allowing this. So that's fine if we're going to take 10 years. That's fine if we're going to take 7 years. It's fine if we're going to finish it in 4 years. So these are the things that I think open universities, open distance learning universities have the flexibility to be able to do such. I think I'll stop here and I will take any questions.
Fantastic, wonderful, wonderful story. Thank you so much. And great work that you do. Congratulations. That makes a difference to so many people. Congratulations. And thank you. So, Alison, would you like to open the fire?
Absolutely. There's so many things that I want to discuss, but also make sure that the audience has their Q&As as well. So I'll try to kind of combine them all so everyone can get the best answers. I think just a quick reflection, I think it's so wonderful what Lily just mentioned about having different systems of how education can function, the traditional 4-year, 2-year, 5-year to get a PhD at the very end. For many people, it's very systematic. But we're living in a world where that's quickly becoming not the case for most people. And I know I saw Titilola nodding her head very excitedly when you were saying these things, because very clearly it is cross country as well. It's not something that is unique for Malaysia or unique for Europe or unique for Western, Eastern Africa regions. It's all over. And to go off of this, Titilola also mentioned how you have implemented the PRISM program, and this is a whole other thing to go down. But in terms of recidivism rates, the higher education you have, the better productive you can be in your society. So how do you reintegrate people into society with skills to use, which I think is so wonderful. And every single time I see Juni's university, I wish I could go back in time and start my bachelor's from 18 there. The concept of integrating ethics in every single situation is so important, because everything that we do has an ethical choice and kind of a non-ethical choice. So going into that, I'd love to kind of bring in the questions for perhaps Lily and Titilola initially to discuss what are the motivating key factors that you guys see when it comes to implementing ethical AI and future of open education, because this is becoming very quickly a heated debate, not only within our own organization, but I'm seeing it on a lot of online universities. So how do you manage this? And then Junie, I'm sure you can bring in the more traditional university aspect with this question as well, but maybe we can start with Titilola and Lily.
Alison, thank you. If I get a question correctly, how will envision the future of open university vis-a-vis the advent of AI?
Yes, sorry, it was a
Yeah,
little round-winded on my end.
it's fine. Okay. We live in some form of difficult times when it comes to the issue of AI and its application in open university in particular, because given the nature of the university, flexible, accessible, and the likes, and the reliance on technology to bridge the gap, the geographical, the spatial gap. So I know it's becoming like a buzzword now when you talk about ethical AI, responsible AI, and the likes, but I think it's still the way to go in the sense that when students and faculty they make use of AI, we still want it to be as value laden as possible, as ethical as possible, and there's a need to transcend mere ethical AI to critical AI, ethical AI literacy, in which we're not just telling them how to do things correctly, the rightness or wrongness of your usage of AI, but we also want our students, our faculty, to be able to interrogate and be able to decipher for themselves, because many of the issues are emerging. How to address them, they are not cast in stone. They are mostly recommendations. And so it's very important to infuse a lot of criticality, critical ethical AI in our arts as faculties in open and distance learning institutions. And that speaks to what I made reference to earlier, the proposal of the university, my university, to have students take courses, take workshop, go through workshop on fundamentals of AI for students. And this already in my department during our orientation 2 weeks ago, I already took the students of the department through that. And I thought that it's something that we should scale further to the entire university. And so the summary of it is that we can't overemphasize the need for how to do things correctly. And that's where we're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Lily, do you have a take on these ethical challenges that AI will face regarding open education, and how do you think you can manage it?
Yeah, I fully agree with Titilola. I think it is here to stay. And as educators, I think the most important thing is how do we educate the ethical ways of using AI. And I feel in our university, back in September, we made a decision that we have to embrace it. And any student who registers at our university, there are about 80 AI courses that we had licensed from a third-party provider to allow our students to have access and figure out how to use it. So there's AI for everyone, AI for business, AI for this and that, for them to be able to get into these courses to understand it. That's the first phase that we're trying to do. And I think I also agree with Titilola is how do we teach and educate students how to interrogate and know, and we know, ChatGPT sometimes hallucinates, right? And how can they discern what is the right answer and what is not the right information that they want? It's actually not going to be so simple, I think. We talk about it. Time will move on and will help us understand it a bit more. And we need more of these sessions to share amongst ourselves from the various universities, how we're approaching it. Right now, we are only one in Malaysia, and we are talking to other institutions. But I think globally, if we can organize discussions on such amongst educators, I think that would be very interesting. we have to do it, but how? And each one of us may do it slightly differently. But to share the information, how we approach it is quite important. And we can learn from one another.
Great. Thank you so much, Lily. I think it's great that, you know, coming from two different sides of the world, you both agree on the same thing of how to do it. It's rather the discussions and implementation processes is the next question. And moving to that, you know, Junie and her university are a little maybe forward when it comes to integration of ethics in a systemic system. So Junie, I'd love to hear about what the motivating force was to include ethical learning outcomes for each of your courses, and why did Uni Andes make this change, and what was there a significant cultural change within the institution itself?
Thank you, Alison. I think that it has been a cultural change within the university regarding our responsibility role towards society. I think that the university was built on an idea of excellence from a technical point of view, and it has been very successful. But along the time, we have been asking if our graduates that are leading several aspects in society are committed to social responsibility enough. And I think that it has been a change in the way we see the university, in the way we see the role of the university in society. And it has not been easy to have all the faculty. Actually, we don't have all the faculty committed to this end, because most of faculty members think that the role is to teach a subject matter, not forming citizens or forming responsible citizens. So part of the cultural change has been to address that with faculty, and to become aware that our role in society is more than forming technical engineers and physicians and lawyers, as we have done in the past.
Great, thank you so much. With that, I will pass over to Antonio, who is giddy, I can tell, to ask you questions.
Yes. I'm actually going to innovate a little bit in the format of the event by presenting two different questions, and each guest can choose which one to answer. Okay, so the first question is, can you have really ethics implemented thoroughly, properly, fully in universities without doing a serious critical review of what is done until that moment, thinking about not only what needs to be done, but what needs to stop happening? So that's the first question about, you know, a critical review of what you do in order to improve ethics. And the other question is about the balance between local needs in ethics and global principles and aspirations in ethics, because each country is different, each community is different. Our values, our goals are very similar, but they need contextualization. Okay, so those are the two questions. Feel free to answer. We can start with who wants to start? Titi Lola?
Yeah, I can start. Thank you. I'll start with the last question.
Okay.
And the dynamics between the global and the local. Let me start by saying that just as we have cultural universals, we have cultural particulars. So there are universal ethics, and there are also particular ethical norms. Let me cite an example. When we talk about truthfulness, it's quite universal as an ethical principle, because if you deny that, it makes having conversation difficult. It can create a society that is not harmonious, because now we will all be suspicious of each other. Okay, so there are universal ethical principles, such as sometimes they are derivative of religious norms. Okay, so I am always wary when I hear whose ethics. It springs the question in my head that when you say whose ethics, do you mean that we can't agree on one thing as humans? We can't agree that we are not in the Obesian state of nature, in which life was nasty, short, brutal, that it is the survival of the fittest? No. So I would say that based on values that unite us as humans, we can draw on that, while we now narrow down to unique, maybe cultural or regional values, which I do not think they are also in their entirety far removed from what somebody in the minority world would be able to reason with to some extent. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, Juni, which other questions would you like to answer?
Thank you, Antonio. I want to address your first question because I think that is not a question. I think
It's a bit loaded, sorry.
A bit.
A bit loaded,
Just
sorry.
a bit. And I think that the answer is yes, of course, you need to do that. But I think that introducing the questions, the ethical questions, when we say we are introducing ethics in the university, part of that is that we are asking questions that we weren't asking before. And I think that doing that is what allows to have this critical review of what we are doing and what we need to do different and what we need to stop doing. So I think that part of our commitment to introducing ethics has been starting to ask difficult questions and have difficult conversations about that. And of course, it's not done. I mean, it's a long way.
Yeah, it cannot happen overnight. Thank you so much. And Lily?
Okay, very quickly, I will answer the second question. I think Titilo and I sort of have very similar thinking in a way. I think the balance between local needs in ethics and global standards, I think living in Malaysia, living in Southeast Asia, even within Malaysia, there are three racial sectors in Malaysia, and the ethics are slightly different. I mean, generally the standards are the same, but because there is a religious undertone in each race, and therefore the ethics become slightly different. And if you live in Singapore, like I have done, if you live in the United States, and then you live in this part of the world, the global standards, and I agree with Titilo, the global standards are there. Honesty, truthfulness, all these are there. But the nuances that comes along in study habits, in education, and the outcomes and how students look at it are going to be different. And I also feel that difference will also be there with each generation. The generation today, what they do and how they look at ethics, the generation of many years before them, the parents and the grandparents are again very different. So I think it's difficult to answer, but one just have to live with the balance and figure out how to balance it.
Wonderful answers. Don't you think, Alison, that it has been fantastic and that we should do more things together with Globethics?
I 100% agree. It was just so lovely hearing how everyone's situations are all quite similar. And I kept thinking, oh, we should do this with them. We should do that with them. And it also goes out to our participants. If anyone is also having an initiative that they think would align well with any or all of us, I can only recommend to reach out to Tom, Antonio, or myself to start something, because realistically, this conversation needs to continue, and it always starts small. And over time, with more people involved, this is how things really change. And by starting these conversations, it really can lead to a greater change. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but 10 years from now. You know, Juni's organization started 10 years ago now, and your university is completely different than it was when it started, and only for the better as well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, congratulations to all of you for your fantastic insights, because you have helped everybody to learn. We are here, you know, in an advocacy role, but we also have hunger for change. Yeah. Let's say that instead of 10 years, let's say 3 or 4, okay, as a maximum. And thank you so much, everybody who has been in the audience today. Thank you to our guests, and thank you to Alison and Globethics. And that's everything. Bye.
Thank you for the invitation. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.